Alright, I'm about to get started on this little job where I've got to thread these rods. So I've got my set of chasers in. I've ordered these from MSC. Got them in yesterday. And these are the, in the MSC book, these are listed as value brand. The name is Vardex. And I have bought these before and they work fine. And I thought I'd talk about this a little bit for you guys that have never used this or maybe not familiar with it. So these are considered chasers. They're a geometric die head. All right, and this is the one I needed. 7/16 14. And you have them. You have 4 of them. And they should be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's what I got there. Is 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Now here's another set that I had taken out of here. These are the ones that were installed. Now this is, see, this is for half 13. I'm assuming that you can read that. And with chasers, you have 2 different styles. You have the ones that protrude out. They're a little bit longer. And then you have this style here. Now these are usually a little bit cheaper because there's not as much material there, but if you get the ones that are straight, you'll spend a little bit less money. But see, that's the difference between the 2 different styles. So what I'll do is go ahead and install them and move these out of the way. And on your die head, where's it at? Try to find it. Okay, it's on the face there. You have 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's a little bit dirty, hard to read, but I can see them. So you start with this one here and go ahead and grab number 1, which would be this one, and slide it down in there. Make sure you go the right way with it. There's only one way it will go. And you slide it down in there, and there's a little detent ball. Alright, you just kind of let it hang out right there. Alright, we'll go to the next one. So that'll be 2. Okay, here's number 2. Come on now. There you go. Alright, there's number 2. And 3. Alright, there's number 3, and then this will be number 4 here. Okay, so there's all 4 of them installed in that little neutral position there. And you take it and pull this around. Let me see. I think I'm going the wrong way. Yeah, okay, you got to go this way. It's hard to do it when you're holding it. And they got to be in the right position. It won't align right. I came over here and mounted it in the tailstock because I was having a hard time holding it and trying to close it. So I think we got it now. So that's in the completely open position where you can take these dies in and out. And then what we'll do is close it. Okay, I went past it there. It's right here. Okay. So now they're locked in place. Now this is the open position, and what you do is whenever you're ready to cut the thread, twist it around and it locks down in place, and these are positioned to cut. But what you got to do is that you have to fine tune this thing to cut it to the right depth that you want. And what you do is you take a scrap piece, which I've got a few of, and we'll set it in the collet chuck over here, and we will make some test cuts and check it against a nut and make sure that we're not too loose or too tight. And you do that with these screws here, and you also have another fine adjust right here with this little handle. And what that does is that adjusts those dies just a little bit. So if you cut one and it's a little bit too tight, you can adjust this lever here and it'll take just a little bit more. and if that's not enough, then you have to adjust these screws. So I've got some short pieces that I'm going to put over here, and we're going to start getting this thing fine-tuned to cut the right pitch, or cut it to the right depth, should I say. Nothing like working in the great outdoors, is it? So this is kind of for all of you guys that's been wanting to see my little power hacksaw work. I've got a little job that I'm starting here now. I've got a bunch of 7/16 rods that I got to cut the length. It's a pretty simple little job here. I got a sample down here that I'm going to show you. This is the original here that I'm going to be copying. It's 7/16 threaded on both ends, about an inch back, and it's got a hole drilled on each side there. So this is the first one I cut. I was just testing it out, see how it does. I got another one set up, getting ready to cut it. So we'll just for fun, we're going to use the little power hacksaw. It takes a little bit longer than the bandsaw, but for the small stuff like this, it works really good. So we're going to use it. I'm going to try to get it set here to where you can see it good. Got a little stand on the back side there that's just a little quick adjust to hold it up. Gotta get my cut length set. Here we go. Thing just purrs right along. Does a great job for real small cutting operations. Little pieces of tubing like that, thin wall tubing, small rods. Does a nice straight cut on it. I got a fine tooth blade in there. Seems to work good. This is made by Jefferson. Runs off of 110. Here, got plugged in. Got a 2-speed pulley on. I got it in the slower setting now. Pretty neat little saw. So let me get some more going. Alright, that's a full 10-footer. I bought 20-footers and had the metal supply cut them in half for me. So I'm getting 2 out of each piece. They're 53 inches long. So I just set one in here and just measure it, make me a little Sharpie mark, and then I bring the blade down, the saw and arm, and just go just to the outside of my little Sharpie mark, and clamp it in. Turn the switch on here. Watch her go to work. There it is. What I do every now and then is just take my cutting oil, put a little wisp of it on there. Okay, we're making some progress, and I've about got this thing set. I wanted to get it close before I bring you in and show you. So what I've done is I've got a bunch of these short pieces here, and this is my progression. Now this was my first cut. You can see that it appears that the thread is not cut deep enough there. Made another cut there, getting a little bit closer. And then this one here is the second rod I put in, and I believe it was this end I just cut here. Let's see. Okay, the nut screws on there good. It's actually got a kind of a loose fit to it. I can rock it a little bit. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and get another one and make another cut, and I'll show you the adjustment that I've been making on this geometric head. Go ahead and close it up into ready to cut position. There is a little tiny graduation right here that you can go off of. It's got a little scale, but it cut a little bit too loose, so I'm gonna make a little fine adjustment. I'm gonna loosen that set screw there a little bit, and then I'm gonna tighten this one, and I'm gonna grab another rod. So I'm also setting up my stop and everything too. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna stick this rod in here, and I'm just gonna use my scale, and I'm gonna set it approximately 2 inches from the end of the rod to the face of the collet here. It's about 2 inches. And what I've got also is I've got the carriage locked. This is the lock here for mine. I've got it locked. And what I'm going to do, you want to keep plenty of oil in this so your tailstock can slide. You've got it up in the spindle here tight, and this will slide, and you're going to bring it up to it. And what will happen is it'll start pulling itself up on here, cutting the thread. And since I've got this where I want it, once the tailstock comes up and bumps the carriage, it'll stop the carriage from moving, and then the geometric die will pull out and open up, and then that'll cut, you know, the length of thread I want. I want about 7/8 length of thread right there. That's about what's on the old one. So let me get you a better position. We'll make a cut here. All right, I'm running my lowest speed on the lathe, which is 30 RPM. I'm going to turn it on. I've got my oil can. This works best when doing this, in my opinion, than a brush, because you need to keep these dies well oiled. I'm going to run this. I'm just pulling the tailstock up by hand. I got the camera in the way, so it's kind of hard to do this here. Bring it up till it touches it. Keep it oiled. All right, now I'm letting go of the tailstock now, and it's pulling itself up onto the rod. In just a second here, it's going to stop, and you'll see this pull out. All right, there it is. So I'm just going to slide it back. There's your cut thread. Okay, there's a nut. It's still a little more loose than what I want it. It's a good fit, but I do want to make it a little bit more tight than that. So I'm gonna make another fine adjust on this real quick. Okay, I got another rod. Made a slight adjustment on the die head here, and I think this is probably going to put me about where I want it here. Oil can's about empty. That's a nice fit right there. It feels really good. This is just a standard grade nut that you can buy at any hardware store. It's a nice fit. So I'm going to do one more test. What I'm going to do is take another piece of this rod here, and I'm going to drill a hole in the end, because each one of these are threaded and you have a small hole drilled in the end. So what I want to do is instead of drilling it after it's threaded, I want to go ahead and drill all the holes in it in the mill and get that done, and then come over here and thread it. So I want to do a test first though on one and see how the chasers do with a hole in the rod. There's my little setup in the mill for drilling the hole. I've got a parallel underneath it, got it sticking out just a little bit. Now this is the stop that I set up. This is an old machinist jack that you can adjust. It's got a V in it, so I've got this pointed rod that I lay down in there and just slide it up to the end, clamp it down, and I've got everything set, got it centered. 1/4 inch from the end is where we're going to drill the hole, and it's a 5/32 hole, about 0.156 diameter. So I'll just use the center drill just to kind of spot it. That's more like it. Okay. All right, there's our hole. So let's go back to the lathe and cut this with the die head and see how it does. I'm gonna try out this oil can that was sent to me by one of our overseas viewers. It's got the little spout on it. I think it'll work out good for reaching right there and oiling it. Yeah, doing pretty good. All right, I think that's going to be our that's good right there, man. Got a chip underneath there. All right, that's going to be our setup for cutting all of the rods. I'm happy with that. Let's take a look at that. Yep. See, it did good with the hole in there. Now I don't have to worry about drilling it and filing threads every time. Once I cut the threads here, it'll be finished. All right, I got all the rods drilled and deburred. So now I'm starting the threading process here with the geometric head. Alright, we'll go ahead and do one here. You see how long it takes to do one once you're set up. Sometimes they leave that little burr there. Got a little stand on the back side of the lathe that's holding the back end up, and I'll show you that here in a minute. Okay, first one done. Here's a little stand that I'm using, and because we're spinning this thing so slow, you know, that's all you need, just a little bit of support to keep the rod from trying to whip up and down. This is aluminum here. Pretty simple operation. Just take it, slide it through. Get the link set and tighten up the collet chuck. Alright guys, I got them all done. We had 15 total to do. They're all right here. They're 53 inches long, threaded on each end with a hole drilled on each end. So we got it all done. Once the die head was set up, to cut. Didn't take long at all to get them all knocked out. So there was a couple more things about the geometric head that I wanted to touch on for the guys who aren't familiar with them, haven't used them. Let me get you over here a little bit closer in some light here. So here's one of the, this was that test piece that I cut. Just giving you a better shot of the thread itself. Chasers do a really good job threading rod, and it's a perfect tool for a repetitious job like this where you've got some kind of rod that you got to cut some threads on. Now if I just had, like, say, you know, a couple of these to do, I wouldn't have used the geometric head. I probably just would have single pointed them. But when you got a bunch of them, it's hard to beat, and it cuts a really nice thread. So what I was going to mention here is the way I've got this thing mounted, and this is the one that my dad, you know, this was my dad's, and it was already set up like this whenever I came to work for him. So it's an adapter here that the shank of the tool slips up in. You got 2 set screws holding it in there, and this is a number 4. Well, this is a number 3 Morse taper. This is a number 4 to fit our tailstocks. So a lot of times whenever you see these things for sale, they don't ever have an adapter there to put it in your machine. And what I was going to point out was that if you buy one of these and it doesn't have any way to put it in your tailstock, all you got to do is buy a Morse taper socket extension like this. This is one of my really old beat up ones here, but just to give you an example, you can buy one of these in an import quality, and they're really cheap. Just buy one to fit your tailstock and get it with a small enough inside Morse taper here that you can bore this to fit the shank of the geometric head here, just like that. And that's exactly what I did at work. We've got one of these at work that's a 1-inch head, and I bought one of these socket extensions and bored it, drilled and tapped for a couple set screws, and it works perfect. It also allows you, it goes pretty far up in here, so if you've got a long thread to cut on a rod, which we've had in the past, we had some 3/8 rods that were they had about a foot of thread on there. So I wanted to mention that. And also one more thing, whenever I was cutting, I showed you using the carriage here, you know, locked it. This come up and bumped here and stop. You don't have to set your machine up to do it like this either. Another way that we've done it is, you know, you run it up in there and you let it start cutting, and once you get to where you want it to cut, just lock your tailstock, and it does the same thing. You can also just hold it. You know, it doesn't take much to pull the head out. So as this thing's traveling, you can just kind of hold on to it, and it'll snap that head open, and you can slide it back out of the way. So here they are. I just got to clean them, get some of the oil off of them. And here's the original here, the original sample. Well, that's about it for this job, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it, and it was informative. Something that we haven't got to show in our videos here yet, so I was glad to get to use this tool, and I hope that it helps somebody out. So hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks for all the support, all the new subscribers, and we will catch you on the next job, okay? See you around.